For 45 years, the world's most powerful nations have tried to break Iran. They blockaded its economy and surrounded its borders. Yet, this ancient civilization didn't just survive the ultimate war of attrition, it turned the tables. How? The answer isn't hidden in secret military bunkers, it's carved into the extreme geography of the country itself. From a narrow 21-mile stretch of water that controls 20% of the global oil supply to the punishing peaks of the Zagros Mountains where extreme isolation is an invincible weapon, Iran has mastered the ultimate algorithm for survival. In this exclusive documentary, we are taking you deep inside unseen Iran. We're exploring the hidden Gulf islands and vertical stone fortresses to reveal the ancient survival blueprint that just outlasted modern superpowers. You will never look at this blockaded empire the same way again. The Strait of Hormuz. Imagine standing at the absolute center of global power, yet feeling completely isolated. Historically, the Persian Empire once ruled a vast expanse of the known world, stretching from the Aegean Sea to the Indus River, where 60 nations bowed beneath a single banner. But empires eventually crumble. Dynasties rise and fall. Yet this land, through thousands of years of conquest, reshaping and renaming, has never ceased to be the epicenter of a power far greater than itself. Today, the entire weight of that historical tide converges upon a strait only 21 miles wide. It is almost inconceivable that a mere 21 miles of water carries nearly 20% of the global oil supply every single day. More than just a geographical boundary, this is the geopolitical jugular vein of humanity. This is a fatal intersection where human ambitions for power and the violent tremors of the earth collide with immense pressure. Right now, modern superpowers are locked in a tense chess match over these very waves. The US and its allies constantly monitor this space, terrified of a sudden blockade, while Iran proves that through geography and asymmetric leverage, it can make superpower protectors hesitate. But if you step just 5 miles off the coast of Bandar Abbas into the threshold of this tense passage, you find Hormuz Island. And here, the geopolitical panic fades into a geological surrealism. Hormuz Island is a salt diapir, a 600 million-year-old mass of compressed salt and mineral-rich volcanic rock that has been pressing upward through overlying sediment for the last 50,000 years. The earth here has folded iron oxide, hematite, gypsum and volcanic compounds into more than 70 distinct mineral shades. You will walk past deep crimson cliffs, silver-black beaches ground from crystallized hematite, purple canyon walls, and golden riverbeds carved dry since before recorded history. For the 3,000 residents living here, mostly local fishermen, this geology is not a tourist spectacle. It is daily survival. Women grind the red ochre soil, locally called gelak, into a spice that colors their stews and flavors their bread. They are literally consuming the ancient geology that modern empires threaten to bleed for. Stand by the dissolving walls of the Portuguese fort, built from this same red stone in 1507, and you witness the island slowly reclaiming what foreign powers attempted to fix in place. The world looks at the Strait of Hormuz and sees a fragile economic lifeline ready to snap under military pressure. But the people of Hormuz understand a deeper truth. The land itself has outlasted every empire that tried to tame it, and the ultimate defense against a collapsing world is recognizing that nothing stays still forever. Kish Island. Breathe in the thick greenhouse-like air, where summer temperatures brutally exceed 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and the humidity feels heavy enough to crush you. Located 112 miles off Iran's southern coast, Kish is a nearly elliptical coral island sitting in the open Persian Gulf. From the surface, you are looking at a modern anomaly. Since 1992, Kish has functioned as Iran's first free trade zone. It looks like a landscape of brilliant turquoise water, bone-white coral sand, and luxury commercial infrastructure attempting to replicate the high-end resort vibe of its Gulf neighbors. But this island holds a devastating contradiction. How do you actually survive on a scorched coral rock with absolutely zero fresh surface water? The true genius of Kish is not found in its modern hotels or shopping centers. It lies exactly 52 feet beneath your boots. To solve the ultimate crisis of an unlivable environment, the ancestors of this island didn't build up. They built an impenetrable subterranean masterpiece. Over 2,500 years ago, ancient engineers carved a massive qanat system deep into the earth. They didn't just dig a well. They designed a system to capture sparse rainwater and filter it through successive layers of fossilized coral reef and clay. This subterranean ceiling is composed of coral that researchers have dated to be between 53 and 570 million years old. They use the geology of the island itself to purify the water by mineral contact alone. This is an elegant, zero-energy filtration system that modern desalination plants spend billions of dollars and massive amounts of electricity trying to replicate. While global powers scramble to protect fragile power grids, and military planners game out how quickly a nation would fall if its water infrastructure were bombed or cyber-hacked, Kish's ancestors built an infrastructure that cannot be sanctioned, bombed, or embargoed. It operated entirely off the grid centuries before the grid was even invented. Above ground, the ruins of Harire, an 8th century trading city, still stand, while the rusting 446-foot hull of a Scottish cargo ship grounded in 1966 sits in the shallow water, serving as a stark reminder of the impermanence of modern trade. Kish Island presents us with the ultimate paradox of modern survival. We walk over a 2,500-year-old sustainable lifeline while consuming the fragile comforts of a free trade zone. It forces us to ask a terrifying question. If a geopolitical crisis cut our modern high-tech lifelines today, would we have the ancient embedded intelligence to survive like they do? The distance between the infrastructure of consumption and the infrastructure of absolute survival is only 52 feet, but psychologically, it is worlds apart. Palangan village. Look straight up, because there is no horizontal ground here. Deep in the heart of the Zagros, this Kurdish settlement is a literal vertical fortress of mutual dependence. When the valley floor could not sustain a conventional settlement due to sheer steepness and scarce land, the people of Palangan didn't retreat. They solved the crisis of space by taking vertical integration to its absolute structural extreme. Here, the roof of one family's home acts entirely as the front courtyard for the family living directly above them. Stone terraces step violently up the hillside in a tight, breathless succession. It looks like a precarious stack of pale stone boxes ready to tumble into the gorge, but in reality it is a profound social contract written in limestone. At nearby Uramanat, similar structures are built entirely without mortar. Limestone extracted directly from the cliff faces is shaped and laid to breathe, naturally cooling the homes in summer and retaining heat in winter without a single drop of external energy. In Palangan, the architecture visually enforces the reality of survival. You simply cannot damage one level without threatening the entire collective structure. If one household abandons their maintenance, the home above them crumbles. It is the perfect architectural metaphor for Iran's wider survival under extreme geopolitical pressure. When you are blockaded, cornered, and entirely cut off from the global safety net, radical unity is your only remaining shield. The knowledge to build this way isn't held in universities or corporate blueprints. It is held entirely in the calloused hands of the people. They generate no external dependency. The deepest difference between this vertical fortress and the modern world is psychological. We view isolation as a threat to be cured by logistics and global supply chains. Palangan views isolation as the baseline weather of daily life. They survived because their architecture forced them to care for the ceiling of their neighbor as if it were their own floor, because it is. So, here is a question for you guys. If a severe geopolitical crisis wiped out our modern supply chains and power grids tomorrow, do you genuinely think your neighborhood could unite and build a survival system like this? Or would we fall apart? Let me know your honest thoughts in the comments below. Larak Island. Picture a covert observation post deliberately hidden in plain sight. Positioned just 3 miles from the international shipping lanes, through which an estimated 21 million barrels of oil heavily transit daily, Larak is the smallest of the 3 strategic islands flanking the Strait of Hormuz. Because of its intense proximity to the world's most hyper-surveilled and militarized waterway, Larak functions as an elevated natural fortress. The island is rocky and steep, rising abruptly from the Gulf's shallow floor. But what is truly wild about Larak is how this tiny outpost weaponizes its own invisibility. Because of its extreme strategic sensitivity in a region constantly bracing for war or blockade, commercial development here is entirely restricted. There are no massive resorts, no sprawling tourist ports, no bright neon skylines. And the unintended consequence of this geopolitical tension, an accidental, pristine ecological sanctuary. When the blistering sun drops and the heat of the day finally breaks, the shoreline of Larak Island reveals its greatest secret. The water around you erupts into cold blue-green bioluminescence. From late summer through autumn, phytoplankton concentrated near the surface by the Gulf's restricted circulation produce waves of pure glowing light. It's a defense mechanism triggered by motion, creating a coast that generates its own illumination without a single input from the grid. You can stand in pitch darkness, completely disconnected from the digital world, and watch billion-dollar oil tankers silently glide past your glowing shores. For the small fishing community that has always worked this island, this is just practical reality. The density of the bioluminescent bloom tells them where the schooling fish are hiding on moonless nights. These people live in homes built from compacted earth and coral aggregate. The walls are constructed thick enough to manage the brutal thermal swing between December nights that drop to 50 degrees Fahrenheit and August days that regularly exceed 110 degrees. It is an architectural mastery that requires no mechanical climate control, completely immune to power grid failures or energy embargoes. Larak Island entered strategic significance early. 16th century Portuguese charts highlight it as a critical waypoint. But today, it survives precisely because it has stepped out of the modern spotlight. The people here don't fight the blockade, they simply disappear into it. While the rest of the Persian Gulf sells its coastline to commercial pressure, Larak's bioluminescence remains undiluted by light pollution and its reefs remain vibrant. This place forces a profound realization. Sometimes extreme isolation and invisibility are the exact conditions needed to preserve what modern visibility would instantly destroy. Qeshm Island. Welcome to a geological cathedral that absolutely refuses to bow to anyone. Covering an area of more than 575 square miles, making it significantly larger than Bahrain and Singapore combined, Qeshm is the largest island in Iran and the only UNESCO global geopark in the Middle East. It earned this title not through administrative ambition, but through sheer geological violence. This entire landscape was formed at the collision boundary of the Arabian and Eurasian tectonic plates. It is a 25 million year ongoing compression that has folded sedimentary rock over sliding layers of salt. The result is an impenetrable natural bunker that simultaneously features vast canyons carved by ancient water, mangrove forests thick enough to shelter nesting flamingos, and subterranean marvels that defy logic. Step inside the Namakdan Salt Cave, the longest salt cave on Earth stretching more than 4 miles, and you are swallowed by a crystal dome whose roots reach 12 miles below the surface. Its interior is painted in pink, crimson, and cobalt, containing formations that are older than the Cambrian period, predating most terrestrial life itself. But the real survival algorithm of Qeshm Island isn't found underground. It is held in the hands and minds of its people. The island's position at the convergence of the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman historically made it a prime target for every empire that realized what this strait controlled. Yet, the locals developed an endurance mechanism far stronger than stone. On these shores, master builders continue to practice lenge construction, a UNESCO-designated intangible heritage craft. They build massive, ocean-going wooden vessels completely from memory. There are no blueprints, there are no digital backups, no computer-aided designs, no supply chain dependencies. Using techniques transmitted across generations of seafarers who once connected this coast to India, East Africa, and China, these men build ships entirely by visualizing the geometry in their heads. If the world's supply chains shattered tomorrow, if a total blockade shut down every server and power grid, these men wouldn't even blink. They carry the engineering inside their minds. While Western nations panic over severed shipping routes and disrupted global trade, the boat builders of Qeshm just keep hammering. They rely on a system of knowledge that no geopolitical sanction can ever touch. Their wives wear the borga, a beaked mask developed over centuries not as an ornament, but as high-functioning sun protection against UV exposure and salt wind. Every aspect of life here is an elegant adaptation to extremity. Qeshm reminds us that scale and antiquity alone do not guarantee survival. True resilience belongs to those who carry the blueprints of civilization inside themselves, proving that the most advanced technology on Earth is still a human mind adapted to its environment. Hangam Island. Let the glittering sand blind you for a second, because this place feels utterly surreal. Separated from Qeshm's southern coast by just 1.2 miles of shallow Gulf water, Hangam occupies a tiny 13 square miles of terrain. There are no paved roads here. There are no massive hotels, and the island supports fewer than 650 permanent residents. It is a settlement pattern that has remained stubbornly unchanged, despite centuries of violent Persian, Portuguese, and British territorial contests over these waters. What makes Hangam geologically mind-bending is its 31-mile coastal perimeter. The sand here is packed with phyllosilicate mineral deposits. Under the intense Middle Eastern sun, these minerals catch and scatter the light with such intensity that the beaches literally read as metallic silver at low tide. As the sun moves, the sand shifts from pure silver to a blinding near white, creating a shoreline that looks manufactured by advanced machinery rather than deposited by nature. And just like Larak, when darkness falls, the phytoplankton blooms in the bay ignite the water into a cold blue bioluminescent glow, drawing light across the water with the movement of every wave. But beneath this breathtaking, otherworldly beauty lies an incredibly harsh reality. Living in a globally cornered region, under the constant shadow of extreme geopolitical blockades, places immense psychological and economic weight on a community. Yet, the people of Hangam have forged one of the most unique cultural economies in the entire Middle East. Here, women are the primary ocean hunters. Long before dawn, they head out into the dark, unpredictable Gulf waters in small wooden skiffs. They are out there hunting barracuda and spangled emperor fish while the rest of the world sleeps, maintaining an economic independence rarely seen in traditional maritime communities. And when the isolation of the island and the crushing pressure of living in a hyper-militarized zone become too much to bear, these residents do not turn to modern pharmaceuticals. Instead, they gather for the Zar ceremony. This is an ancient hypnotic drumming ritual designed for collective psychological recalibration. It is a highly intense, rhythmic trance practiced along this coast long before formal medicine arrived. When the stress peaks, they literally beat it out of their systems through collective endurance. Today, Hangam faces new pressures, not from war, but from naive tourism disrupting the dolphins and depleting the silver sand. But the spirit of the island remains unbreakable. Hangam is a living testament that survival isn't just about physical shelter, it is about psychological fortresses. It proves that resilience is a rhythm, and the most precise ecological archives are held by communities too small to appear on most global maps, yet too deeply embedded in their environment to ever be erased. The Zagros Mountains. Forget everything you know about finding a safe shelter. In this punishing, jagged terrain of fractured limestone and freezing valleys, isolation is the baseline weather. The ridges climb sharply from the plains of western Iran, offering little in the way of stability, agricultural generosity, or seasonal courtesy. By any conventional measure of habitability, the Zagros Mountains should have remained an empty wasteland. But the Bakhtiari nomads who inhabit these ranges did not conquer these brutal peaks. They didn't try to impose their will on the stone. Instead, they learned to become the environment's most patient and highly disciplined students. They transformed a landscape that punishes attachment into the foundation of a society that mastered the architecture of movement. In a modern geopolitical world that equates safety with massive military bunkers, border walls, and deep-rooted static infrastructure, the Bakhtiari chose a radically different path. They designed a civilization entirely based on calculated displacement. To the untrained eye, their migration looks like aimless wandering, a symptom of primitive vulnerability. But what is actually taking place is the execution of a hyper-precise predictive algorithm. Their movement is an environmental data collection system calibrated to the rhythm of snowmelt, wind, and pasture data. Before the sun even clears the eastern ridge, the community disaggregates into functional units to read the terrain. They don't wait for resources to fail. The defining principle of their system is anticipation. They move ahead of nature, abandoning pastures before they are exhausted, evaluating water flow rates and comparing current conditions against memories stretching back multiple generations. For the Bakhtiari, owning things that cannot travel is not a mark of wealth. It is a strategic liability. Their iconic black tents, the Sia Chador, are woven from goat hair and can be assembled in under an hour. Their butter is churned in suspended goat skins, requiring no fixed kitchen. This is not folksy tradition. This is load-bearing design applied to extreme survival. They ask only one question: what can we carry without slowing the system down? The modern world, obsessed with hyperconnectivity, believes that to be disconnected is to be at risk. We panic when supply chains break, when the power grid falters, or when an economic blockade is imposed. We consider fixed infrastructure as our greatest strength, completely ignoring that a single broken node can cause the entire system to collapse. But up here, the paradigm flips. Relying on fixed infrastructure is the real vulnerability. The Zagros proves that the absolute best defense mechanism against a collapsing, unpredictable world is the freedom to pack up your entire civilization and simply walk over the mountain. The nomads survive not by fighting the harshness, but by letting its rhythms dictate their ambition.